So we have to learn about the approximate chemical shift values of different protons. Okay. Later on we'll try to learn about carbon 13 active nucleus also. So as I said in the last class, these chemical shift values, they depend upon electronegativity, then they also depend upon your hybridization effects, they all then depend upon hydrogen bonding, and with hydrogen bonding we can also say it depends upon the concentration of the particular compound. If it is highly concentrated, then your hydrogen bond effect will be more. If it is diluted, then the hydrogen bond effect will be less. So all those factors, they determine the chemical shift values. Okay, and if I have to take a small little bit one by one points, then you have to understand that if your any electronegative element is present here, then it will pull the electron cloud towards itself, and then ultimately this particular nucleus will be deshielded. This particular nucleus will be deshielded from what? Deshielded from the external magnetic field, and that's why this nucleus will experience more external magnetic field, and since it is experiencing more external magnetic field, it will appear in downfield. And a shielded nucleus, that means it does not have any electronegative element, then this will be shielded, and since it is shielded, it will appear in upfield. Already I have told many times. So if we have to take one by one groups, then if you say let's start with alkanes. Now the alkanes can be RCH3, and mind you, this R is all carbon groups. So if RCH3, then it can be alkyl, then it can be methylene, and it can be tertiary. So primary, secondary, tertiary. So accordingly, the values, if I have to write, so these are approximate values. So you have to just know the range. You just need to get an idea that it falls in that particular range. Little bit here and there, it is okay. Suppose here it is 0.7 to 1.3 ppm, and somebody asks you that what is the range of your methyl protons here, and if you say it will come somewhere around 0.9 or 1, it is all acceptable. But if you say that this will come in 2, that is not acceptable, or 1.9, that is not acceptable. So your approximate value, that's why it is approximate chemical shift value, it should be somewhere in this range. So this range you should remember. Then you have the methylene protons. The methylene protons will appear in 1.2 to 1.4, and also if you follow different books, your this range will little bit vary towards this side or this side, and this all values I am following from Pavia book. I think all of you have that book, so we will all talk about values from that. So whatever the book is, this range will be almost approximately same. So then you have the tertiary group. So these protons will appear in 1.4 to 1.7 ppm. So this is important. Alkane groups, the different type of protons available. You have methyl protons, methylene protons, and tertiary protons, and then your values will be this range. Now why it is coming like this? Because if you see here, this hydrogen, this is carbon is flanked by only one side. Here it has two carbon here, and here it has three carbons. So more the number of carbon atom, more is the at least more electronegative environment in comparison to hydrogen. So that's why it is going from upfield to downfield region. Okay. And along with this, let's try to also learn little bit about coupling behavior. So the coupling behavior in this of alkanes, it will fall in 7 to 10 hertz. Okay, 7 to 10 hertz. That means what I'm saying is, if you have CH3, CH2, CH3. Okay, propane. If you have propane, then the coupling between this HA hydrogen and HB, that means JAB, will fall in this range 7 to 10 Hertz. Similarly, from JBA will be exactly equal. So these kind of couplings, they fall in that range 7 to 10 Hertz. Okay. Next is your alkenes. So before going to alkenes, I will also take up this diamagnetic anisotropy effect. So what is diamagnetic anisotropy effect? Okay. Now, as I said, the electronic cloud which is surrounding a particular nucleus, it itself generates a magnetic field which opposes the external magnetic field. Now there are certain positions in the structure where those fields, they oppose the external magnetic field, and there are some places which it not opposes but aligns with the external field. So let's take an example. Suppose you have benzene here. So benzene, we know that this is the pi electron cloud here above and below the benzene ring. There are pi electron clouds. So in this case, when you apply the external magnetic field B naught here in this direction, so this ring current, so there will be a current generated here, and because of this current it will generate a magnetic field. This will generate a magnetic field like this. Now any proton which is present here will now experience, this will oppose the external magnetic field. But suppose in benzene ring, we know that the hydrogens are outside the ring here in these positions. So because of this, what happens is, now this hydrogen which was experiencing B naught will also, suppose this is B dash, so now this hydrogen will experience B naught plus B dash. So it is experiencing more external magnetic field. But if suppose there are some structures, I'll give you some examples later on, which falls within this region, then they will experience a magnetic field. Here there is no hydrogen here, I'm just giving you an example. But if some hydrogens are within this region, then what will happen is, this hydrogen will experience a magnetic field B naught minus, suppose this power is B dash, B naught minus B dash, but this will experience a magnetic field B naught plus B dash. So because of this, what will happen is, this nucleus will now become de-shielded and this nucleus will become more shielded. Okay, so that's why these will appear in downfield and these will appear in upfield. Now why I am discussing this is, in case of alkene, what will happen is, suppose alkenes, okay, am I audible? Oh, okay. Suppose I am taking alkene. So alkenes will be CH double bond, or let me write it like this, C double bond C, this hydrogen. Okay. So they fall in the region 4.5 to 6.5. That means, how you can remember is, this is exactly in the middle portion of your delta scale, alkenes. Now, two reasons why. Suppose earlier we discussed about alkane. We discussed that alkanes fall in the region CH3, suppose. So in this case, they are in the region 0.7 to 1.2, this region. So now this has become 4.5 to 6.5. So what are the effectors which has led this proton to come from 0.7 to 4.5? Two reasons. One is in case of alkene, the electronegative or the hybridization effect. That means the carbon, now it is here sp2 hybridized in case of alkene. Now since it is sp2 hybridized, we know the percentage of S character, how much here in case of sp2? Here percentage of S character is 25%. and here it is 33%. So as the S character increases, electronegativity of the particular atom increases. So because of this, one factor is the electronegativity of the particular carbon atom which is joined. So now this will pull the electron, and secondly the diamagnetic anisotropic effect, or the anisotropic effect, where you have the ring current which is generated somehow adds up in this area. So that means these hydrogens now are experiencing a magnetic field which is more than the external magnetic field that you are applying. Okay, so in these cases, these places they experience they are deshielded because of the anisotropic effect. So two factors: one is the electronegativity of the particular carbon atom which has increased because of the hybridization, and second is the anisotropic effect. Okay, so suppose another structure in alkene, it is like C double bond C CH. That means the earlier alkene was vinylic hydrogen and now it is allylic hydrogen. Now the allylic hydrogen, that means the double bond has little bit moved far away from the particular hydrogen, and if it has moved far away, so that's why the value will here come in 1.6 to 2.6 ppm in this region. Okay, as the electronegativity factor goes far away from the particular nucleus that is being considered, the value goes from downfield to upfield region. Now as I said that we will also study the coupling behavior. Then in case of alkenes, you have C double bond C, you have hydrogen here, hydrogen here, hydrogen here. Now this hydrogen and this hydrogen, what is the relationship? This hydrogen, they are trans in nature. So it will call it J trans, and this hydrogen, the relationship is cis. So this is J cis and J trans. So J trans value, it comes at 11 to 18 hertz, and J cis value, it comes from 6 to 15 hertz. Okay, this is the range. So J trans is greater than J cis. So the question is, why J trans is greater than J cis? We will discuss it after discussing approximate chemical shift. As I said, I'll again go back to your coupling constant parameter. Then we'll discuss in detail why J trans is greater than J cis. But you should always remember that J trans is greater than J cis. Okay. So what are the values we have remembered till now, or we have discussed? We have discussed about alkenes. So alkenes comes in the region of 0.7 to 1.5 region. Then you have alkenes. Alkenes come from 4.5 to 6.5, and the allylic alkene, which is little bit lesser. That means in the range of 1.6 to 2.6. Let's see some other groups. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Alkynes. So alkene, 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 now alkynes. So what are alkynes? Alkynes means C triple bond C H. Now if we see in case of alkene and alkene, so now this carbon is sp hybridized. So if it is sp hybridized, and there is also this ring current effect. So this because of this ring current effect, it should be downfield than the alkene proton, which was coming at 4.5 to 6.5 region. It should be lower than this, and this is somewhere 0.7 to 1.2. So it should, technically speaking, it should go beyond this region. But what happens is, this alkynes, they are actually like this. and this electronic cloud here, it generates the ring current here around this double bond. If you can see, it is like this, a linear molecule, and because of this linearity, the magnetic field which comes are now like this. So as I said you in the example of diamagnetic anisotropy, so there will be some regions where this hydrogen, now suppose this is V naught, so this and this is V dash, so this hydrogen now will experience a magnetic field which is V naught minus V dash. That means now this hydrogen gets shielded, although because of the electronegativity value of the carbon atom, that means now here S character is how much? It is sp hybridized. S character is 50%. Because of this 50% character, even it's more electronegative, it is pulling the electron, so it should go downfield in the spectrum. But because of this ring current effect, it is shielding the external magnetic field, and because of the shielding, it falls in the region, your alkynes, they fall in the region 1.7 to 2.7. Mostly it is above 2 only, but maybe in some cases it is 1.7, so that's why they have given it 1.7, but mostly it is 2 point, around 2, 2.1, 1.9, that region. Okay. So similarly, if the alkyne is little bit far away, and if it is far away, these factors will also somehow diminish, and electronegativity factor will also diminish. So this is coming at 1.6 to 2.6, but slight changes there. And if you have to see the coupling constant, it is very minimal here. It is around 2 to so coupling will be what? It will be here. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. This is J4 coupling. Again, you may have some doubts here. I will discuss it again. So this J4 coupling is 2 to 3 hertz. It falls in your long range coupling. This far away. Mostly the couplings that we are concerned is J2 and J3. But this is J4. It is 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 bonds apart. So they fall in the region of 2 to 3 hertz. Just note it down. In some examples it may be helpful. Now let's talk about the aromatic ring. Aromatic ring hydrogens, they fall in the region 6 to 8 ppm. 6 to 8 ppm, that means in the very downfield. Maybe probably I can write here 6.5, not 6. 6.5 to 8 ppm. Why? Again, an anisotropic effect, ring current effect. There is this ring current here. It will generate a magnetic field which will now align with the external magnetic field, and since it is aligning, so your chemical shift value, it goes downfield. Okay. Now if we have to talk about the another important structure here, suppose you have toluene. Okay, very important, keep it in mind. Many questions, most aromatic questions gives you this hint. So if you have a toluene here, this toluene will come in, these hydrogens, they will come in 2.2. So if I have to write a region, then 2.2 to 2.5 ppm or 2.7 ppm. 2.2 to 2.7. So these hydrogens, they will come in 6.5 to 8 region, but these hydrogens, they will come in 2.2 to 2.7. You should remember this. So when we have a substituent here, now all these hydrogens now become chemically inequivalent. Okay. So now if you have this here, this is Ja, then you have Jb, and Jc. Then the relationship between JAB is also equal to J ortho relationship, J ortho. So J ortho is the strongest coupling in your aromatic ring. So this falls in 7 to 10 hertz. Then you have J meta. Any doubts? J meta and J para. So J meta is around 2 to 3 hertz and J para is 0 to 1 hertz. Okay. So if you see here, compared to J ortho, J meta and J para is very negligible. Okay. So these values are very important for your this course, not only for this course, for your structural elucidation. You should, if you keep on practicing, then these ranges will automatically be encrypted in your mind. Next we have the halogens. So if we have CH3I, CH3Br, CH3Cl and CH3F. Now if you see here, then this is the least electronegative and this is the most electronegative. So electronegativity order is like this: fluorine is the most electronegative, and if fluorine is the most electronegative, then it should come in the most downfield region. So that is a thing. It is comes in 4.2 to 4.8. Then your fluorine comes in the three regions, 3.1 to 4.2. Already it is means it comes in middle somewhere, 3.5, like that. Then when you are bromine, then it is 2.7 to 4.1. Yeah, 2.7 to 4.1, and in case of iodine it is 2 to 4 ppm. So when it is fluorine, you should think in the 4 region. You should see the 4 region of your spectra, and 4 means the delta scale. I'm talking about the delta scale. And if you have it is iodine, then you should search somewhere in the upfield region, that is around 2 to 3 region. Okay, and depending upon the other substituent groups present, these values will fall in this particular ranges. Now fluorine is NMR active. Fluorine is NMR active. So since fluorine is NMR active, so when there will be a coupling between fluorine and the hydrogen atoms, so that is your J2 coupling. We will discuss this also later on. So this is very high, which is around 50 hertz. Others do not show J coupling in your spectra because they are not NMR active, but fluorine being NMR active, they show J coupling, and this J coupling is around 50 hertz. So just see this kind of questions may appear in your question paper. Arrange this in order of their increasing delta values. Okay. Now if you see, this has 3 chlorine atoms, this has 2 chlorine atoms, and this has only 1 chlorine atom. So more the number of electronegative atom, more will be the de-shielding of the proton, and that's why it will be more in the downfield. So this will come in the downfield. If I have to say how to write it, so arrange in order of their increasing, no? So this will be higher, this will be lower. So this is coming at around 7.2. This is coming at 7.2. Then this is 5.3, and then this one is 3.05 or 3. No need to get into the decimal level. So 7.2, 5.3, 3. So out of these 3, this is very important. Kindly remember this value, chloroform, because when you record your NMR, you have to dissolve your particular compound in some solvent. So the most common solvent that is used is CDCl3. I will take a lecture on the solvent also. There we will discuss each solvents in detail. So we use CDCl3. Now this CDCl3 bottle that we are using, or the solvent, this always has little note it down somewhere, little amount of impurity of CHCl3, means chlorophene impurity is there, and because of this you get a peak at 7.2, and that is called a solvent peak. So later on when you go for some interviews or anywhere, people may ask you that where is the CDCl3 peak coming. That is not why, that is not actually CDCl3's peak, that is the peak of chloroform, which comes at, or which appears at 6.2, oh sorry, it's not 6.2, 7.2. Let's go to the next class of compounds. Yeah, alcohols. So alcohols, they are CH3, CH2, OH. Okay, CH3, CH2, OH. These hydrogens, which are this carbon which is directly bonded to the oxygen atom, these hydrogens, they fall in the region 3.2 to 3.8. Very important. 3.5 to 5 ppm. That means quite variable in their appearance, presence in the NMR spectra. 0.5 to 5 ppm. So sometimes it will appear, sometimes it will not appear. Why? We'll just discuss it. So here, if you see here, this carbon atom which is directly attached to the oxygen atom, these hydrogens, they appear in 3.2 to 3.8 region, and this hydrogen, they appear in 0.5 to 5. Now if you see here, this CH3, this CH3, normally what is the range for CH3? It is 0.7 to 1.2, 0.7 to 1.2. So this, now you have to see the spectra in this region 1.2, because now an extra electronegative element is now present, so that's why this will move towards this higher deshielded range of your particular range that we discussed in your alkane part. So what should be the spectra of ethanol? You have CH3, CH2 and OH. What is the ideal spectra? Ideal spectra is this one, N plus 1 rule. You have 2 plus 1 which is equal to 3. It should come as triplet. This should come as 3, N plus 1, 3, and for this is another 1 protons are adjacent to it. 3 plus 1, 4. 4 plus 1 is equal to 5. That means it should come as a multiplet, and this hydrogen should come as N plus 1. So you have 2 plus 1 which is equal to 3. It should come as triplet. This should be the ideal scenario. Now a question may be asked, or let me go to the question a little bit later. But what happens is, in most cases they do not appear as multiplet, or this hydrogen do not have any coupling effect on this hydrogen. So similarly this will not have any effect on this hydrogen, so this appears at N plus 1 rule. So only for this 3 plus 1 which is equal to 4, it comes as quartet. So there is no splitting of these hydrogens by this hydrogen. Why? Because these hydrogens are rapidly exchanging its position in the solvent. Either it is exchanging, this hydrogen is exchanging with other molecules of ethanol, or it is exchanging with the solvent molecule. So because of this, this hydrogen is not present in one particular moment at a time, so to have a coupling effect on this. Okay, so if you scan the NMR thing of a particular ethanol compound, this hydrogen is not present in so much time that it will have any effect, coupling effect on this hydrogen. Okay, so because of this they do not have. But suppose you are taking an ethanol bottle which is the solvent, with other molecules. But if it is a freshly prepared bottle, this is highly concentrated without any impurities, zero impurities, 0% impurity is present. Now for only for these kind of alcohols you will observe triplets, or that hydrogen will couple with this hydrogen and this will appear as triplet. Okay, so just write one line somewhere. The position of OH proton is variable depending on concentration. So if it is highly concentrated, then if it is highly concentrated, this interaction, and then you have solvent. So if you have some solvent which interacts with the alcohol, then there will be no coupling. But if you have inert solvent, then that coupling may be present. Then you have acidic or basic impurities present. In those cases also there will be no coupling behavior. So position of OH proton is variable depending upon concentration, solvent, acidic behavior. Also you can write temperature also. If temperature is rising, then this exchange is more, and if exchange is more, your coupling will be negligible or not present. Okay, let's see some more example. Yeah, another thing is deuterium exchange. I almost forgot about. Suppose your compound is unknown. Suppose you are taking an unknown compound, alcohol. You are thinking that this should have OH group. This structure should have OH group, and you are recording an NMR. And also we know that the OH proton is coming in variable position. What is the range? The range is very high. It is 0.5 to 5 ppm. So it is somewhere coming here in around 3, and you are not sure that whether this is from the OH peak. Okay, so what you can do is you can record this sample, and then you will get this peak. Then this sample, in the sample you add deuterium oxide D2O, and when you are adding D2O, what will happen is, now your, suppose I am just drawing it ROH, RCH2OH, and then you are adding D2O. So what will happen is you will get RCH2OD. That means now this hydrogen is exchanging with the solvent deuterium D, and we know deuterium is an isotope of hydrogen. So now since this compound now has deuterium in it, now if you record the NMR, this peak which was originally coming at 3 and you thought that you are not sure whether it is of a OH peak, now this will disappear in the second spectra. When you are adding D2O. So this experiment will let you know that this peak which was coming at 3 position, that was only because of your OH peak. Okay, by that way you can confirm the presence of OH peak. Understood? So this just was deuterium exchange, very important. Then you have next compound is your amines. Again with NH there is a factor called quadrupole coupling, which again I will take it when I discuss coupling in a more detail. So because of this, what happens is this range is around again 0.5 to 4 ppm, and this, because of this quadrupole coupling, I am not discussing what is quadrupole coupling now because that will take a more elaborate explanation, and they appear as broad peaks. And also their position is variable. So if you are having a spectra and other peaks are coming like this, your NH peak will somehow come in this particular factor. It will be broad in nature. So if you are seeing a, so if you want to find your so anyways, so if you are searching for your NH peak here, uh, then you have to search for a broad peak, and also you have to search for a broad peak in the range for 0.5 to 4 ppm. OH was 0.5 to 5 ppm. Okay. And if I have to talk about CH2COH or CH, then this was coming in 3.6 to 3.8 region, but in case of C and H, which is more electronegative, oxygen or nitrogen? Of course oxygen is more electronegative. So these hydrogens, they appear in 2.2 to 2.9 ppm. They will not be broad. Broad will be these hydrogens, and this range is 0.5 to 5 ppm. This range is 0.5 to 4 ppm. 0.5 to this is 5 ppm. Okay. So understand the difference. These hydrogens, they come at 3.6 to 3.8. This comes as 2.2 to 2.9 ppm. Okay. Yeah, write this also. In case of aromatic ring, this hydrogen, that is aniline, this comes in the range of 3 to 5 ppm. Just note it down. 0.5 to 5 ppm. Here also with the electronegative effect, your anisotropic effect is also playing part. Next group is your nitriles. Nitriles CN. CH here, nitriles. So you have your cyano group present, and because of this cyano group, these hydrogens, they appear in 2.1 to 3 ppm, this range. Okay. So this is the alpha hydrogen, and they are deshielded by the electronegative cyanide group. So your 2 to 3 region is quite complex. Till now 2 to 3 region, what we have discussed NH protons which are coming in 2 to 3 region. Also another important is this is also coming in 2 to 3 region. Then you have these hydrogens are also coming in 2 to 3 region. This is a very busy part of your spectra. Then you have the aldehydes. These are aldehydes. So aldehyde, again, this is a very electron withdrawing group. Okay, this withdrawing the electron density, and also because of this pi electron cloud, this ring current effect, it somehow deshields this hydrogen, deshields the hydrogen due or by anisotropic effect, and these hydrogens, please remember, I don't know how, just write it down like Gajini somewhere in your head or hand or whatever. It comes in 9 to 10 ppm, in that range. So if you are taking an NMR of your aldehyde group, then you should always search in this 9 to 10 region for your aldehydic peak. Okay, and this CH, they will come in the region 2.1 to 2.4. So another candidate now has increased is or shown its presence in the 2 to 3 region. One is your, and in your aldehyde this will be your alpha carbon atom. So these alpha carbon atom hydrogens, they appear in 2.1 to 2.4, and these hydrogens they are 9 to 10. So this is the characteristic feature of this. Like my characteristic feature is my specs. Okay, so like that. So those kind of things you should keep in mind. I have said this last semester to some students also. I said it in class, and then by the end of the course I asked them, and then they cannot say where is the aldehyde peak. So that becomes very bad. So in case of ketone, again here ketone does not have the aldehydic peak. So this is one way of asking how will you differentiate a ketone and aldehyde in an NMR. So in aldehyde you will get a peak at 9 to 10, but in ketone you will not see that peak. So here you will see this peak at how much, 2.1 to 2.7, and here also 2.1 to 2.7. Of course this will be more deshielded than this one. So and this will again come in 1.2 to 1.4 inches. It will come there. So aldehyde is over. Then you have ester. Esters are very important. As I'm saying important, I don't think I have anything which is less important. All are important. So esters, CH3, C double bond O, O, CH2, CH3. So these are esters. So esters, if you see here, you have this carbonyl moiety also. They are adjacent to this. So this region will be 2.1 to 2.7. This will be fixed. And you have this hydrogen. So now this is nothing but your CH3OH. These hydrogens, these are same, carbon directly attached to oxygen. And also you have this extra electronegative factor. So that's why these bonds now, if this only OH is there, then this hydrogen would have appeared in 3.5 to 3.9 region. But in case of ester, they appear in 3.5 to 4.8 ppm. So it here both this mesomeric effect, at the same time electronegative effect of the oxygen atom, it plays part in it, and because of this the range is 3.5 to 4.8. okay. Acid. Acid groups are characterized by the presence of the OH group in the 11 to 12 ppm region. So this by this way is there, and then this part is same like your other groups that we have discussed. So if there is CH3 here, this is carbonyl group, you will search in 2 to 3 region. Again here you can do deuterium exchange also. That means you are adding deuterium here, D2O, then this hydrogen will exchange, and then the peak at 11 to 12 will be that will disappear. And so those kind of experiments also you can do with your carboxylic group. Next is amides. So what are amides? Amides are these are amides. So here the NH peak, the NH peak between amine was coming at 0.5 to 4 ppm. Now in case of amides, this will come in 5 to, in case of amides, this will come in 5 to 9 ppm. Why? Basically because of this carbonyl group and the anisotropic effect. this will be more deshielded, and since it is more deshielded, it will go towards the downfield part of your spectra. Okay, and the other things are just similar to what amines will give. Okay, yeah, the last group is your nitro group. So if you have your NHNO2, which is very electronegative in nature, so this comes in 4.1 to 4.4 ppm. So just note these values down, and if you all have any doubts, kindly ask me. If no doubts, then probably we can stop.